CoPilot Review: The Metaphysics and Logos of Psyche and Psychoanalysis. By Michael R. D. James. Michael R. D. James's The Metaphysics and Logos of Psyche and Psychoanalysis is an ambitious and intellectually dense work that attempts nothing less than a systematic reconciliation of Freudian psychoanalysis with the classical philosophical traditions of Aristotle and Kant. Drawing on material presented in the author's own philosophical blog and an Opera AI-generated review featured there, the book emerges as a distinctive contribution to philosophical psychology, one that challenges both reductive empiricism and simplistic metaphysical dualisms. 1. Intellectual scope and aim. At its core, James's project is grounded in the claim that modern misunderstandings of the ancient Greek term psyche, often translated as soul or mind, have obscured its richer meaning as a life form embedded in a teleological and normative framework. This shift is not merely semantic, it underpins the book's larger effort to restore a hylomorphic conception of human beings, integrating form and matter in a way that avoids both materialist reductionism and Cartesian dualism. 2. Core philosophical synthesis. Freud reinterpreted. Rather than treating Freud as a proto-neuroscientist or as a purely clinical theorist, James situates psychoanalysis within a broader philosophical tradition. Freud's concepts, such as the pleasure principle, reality principle, and dream interpretation, are reframed as expressions of a deeper metaphysical logic, logos, governing psychic life. This reinterpretation is significant because it moves psychoanalysis away from biological reductionism, positions it as a hermeneutic or interpretative discipline, aligns it with Kantian notions of reason and Aristotelian accounts of flourishing. The book therefore transforms psychoanalysis into what James calls an exegetical science concerned with meaning rather than mere causation. The hylomorphic framework. Aristotle's influence is particularly strong. By emphasizing hylomorphism, the unity of form and matter, James offers a model of the psyche that avoids the fragmentation typical of modern psychology. This allows him to reinterpret Freudian drives, eros and thanatos, not simply as biological impulses but as teleologically structured aspects of human life. Kant's contribution is equally central. James draws upon the distinction between metaphysics of nature, causal explanations, metaphysics of morals, normative reasoning. This dual framework enables him to situate psychoanalysis at the intersection of science and ethics, rather than reducing it to either domain alone. 3. Key concepts and innovations. The impulse control triangle. By linking this structure to Aristotelian virtue, arete, and practical reasoning, James presents psychological development as a moral and educational process, a movement toward rational self-governance, psychoanalysis as ethical practice. A striking feature of the work is its insistence that psychoanalysis should be understood not as therapy alone, but as a form of ethical inquiry into the meaning of a life. This elevates the discipline beyond clinical settings and reconnects it with classical philosophy's concern for eudaimonia, human flourishing. Political and cultural dimensions. James also expands psychoanalysis into the political realm, drawing connections between Freud, Plato, Aristotle, and Hannah Arendt. The book explores how psychic forces, particularly aggression and mass melancholia, can shape political phenomena such as tyranny and totalitarianism. This interdisciplinary reach is one of the book's defining strengths. BarnesandNoble.com. 4. Strengths of the work. 4.1 Philosophical breadth. The synthesis of ancient Greek philosophy, Enlightenment thought, and psychoanalysis is executed with impressive erudition. The ability to connect Freud's metapsychology with Aristotelian ethics and Kantian epistemology results in a multidimensional account of the human psyche. 4.2 Conceptual depth. The book challenges entrenched assumptions in both philosophy and psychology, particularly the marginalization of metaphysics in modern psychology, the tendency to interpret Freud purely in scientific or clinical terms. By restoring metaphysical inquiry, James aligns with broader philosophical arguments that psychology inevitably rests on implicit ontological assumptions about reality and the mind. IllinoisChess.gr. 4.3 Integration of ethics and psychology. James's insistence that psychoanalysis is inherently ethical marks a significant departure from mainstream approaches. This perspective resonates with classical traditions and provides a normative framework for understanding mental health. 5. Limitations and challenges. Despite its strengths, the work is not without difficulties. Density and accessibility. The text is highly technical and presupposes familiarity with Aristotle, Kant, and Freud. Readers without a philosophical background may find it challenging. Speculative elements. The strong metaphysical commitments, particularly the reliance on hylomorphism, may not persuade empirically oriented psychologists. Selective engagement. While the book integrates major traditions, it engages less extensively with contemporary cognitive science or alternative psychoanalytic schools. These limitations, however, are arguably the price of its ambitious scope. 6. Overall evaluation. The metaphysics and logos of Psuché and Psychoanalysis is best understood as a philosophical refoundation of psychoanalysis rather than a conventional academic monograph. It seeks to restore depth, meaning, and ethical significance to a discipline often reduced to technique or theory. Conclusion. Michael R. D. James has produced a work of considerable originality and intellectual ambition. By reinterpreting Freud through Aristotle and Kant, he offers a vision of psychoanalysis as a philosophical, ethical, and cultural enterprise grounded in a rich conception of the human life form, psyche. For readers willing to engage with its complexity, the book provides a rewarding and thought-provoking journey, one that reopens fundamental questions about the nature of mind, meaning, and human flourishing.